Now, if you're in LA wearing a Dodgers jersey, that's one piece of evidence. If you're wearing Bulls gear day after day in the Maryland area, and you have MS-13 affiliated things, and you're telling a judge that you're part of a gang, and your wife has filed declaratory distress relief because you're a wife beater, and then finally the fact he's not an American.
I just said that. I'm from Maryland. Nobody wear. Come on, let's be honest. If you're an American, your area has a sports team.
Hello. First of all, I just want to say I have a lot of respect for you, but obviously we just disagree on a few things. The main thing that I just want to talk about is the issue of immigration. And I personally, I don't think it's a bad thing for America. In fact, I do think that it's an amazing thing for America. But mostly the thing that I'm trying to hit on is like how many immigrants are being persecuted right now, including Kilmar Garcia. Before you respond, or before I even say anything, I just want to acknowledge the fact. I want to acknowledge the fact that we are right now on stolen land, and that we are on indigenous land, and that.
So, if you guys don't already know, this debate will be about immigration of some sorts. He brought it up by saying Kilmar Garcia, which a lot of conservatives. I don't really know what conservatives think about him. I only know what liberals think about Kilmar. They're like, bring him back to America, so on and so forth. Without further ado, my name is Jojo. Please make sure you like and subscribe. Let's get into this.
We are on original Mexican land right now, and for a lot of you guys that are Latinos of Trump, for Latinos for Trump. Personally, me, I am a second-generation Mexican Guatemalan, and I am blessed to have been born in America, although I do not think that Mexicans for Trump should stand for the Latinos in this country. Okay, now I get in. Now
wait. So I just want to make. I love this stolen land argument.
Okay.
If we stole the land and you're mad about it,
I'm not saying that it's not a better country right now. I'm just saying that right now, especially like the things that we're taught in school, in public education, we're taught about the Alamo and how it was this amazingly a patriotic act, though it was literally stealing a base from the Mexicans in their own land. I think that that's kind of the wrong angle to be looking at things, and that's why I really make it a point to notice that I'm on stolen land at all times, especially when we think about things like manifest destiny.
Who did the Mexicans steal the land from?
Actually, the Mexicans were there originally in Texas.
And here's the problem with his whole argument. Saying that, the land we're on is stolen. Every land is stolen depending on how far back in history you go. So I'm like, yeah, you could technically say where you're from is stolen land and the Mexicans own it, but somebody had that land before them and it got taken from them. That's how the old world worked until the new world created structure and created organization and created laws that you can buy property now. Do you honestly think 1,000 years ago people were buying houses and they just owned it because the law said they owned it? No, people were getting their doors kicked in and getting their homes taken. That's how the world used to work until the new world said, okay, let's calm this down. Let's have paperwork and lawyers and legislation. That didn't always exist. So what are you talking about? You should have learned this in college.
No,
because
not correct.
Because
wrong. They stole it from lots of Indian tribes. That's not correct. Thousands of years before, they were Indian tribes. So the Mexicans actually
the Mexicans
stole the
were
land.
the originally Mexicans were Aztecs and Mayans. And many
some
other
of them, hold on,
indigenous
Texas
people.
was not indigenously Mexican, though.
Mm-hmm.
There was the Cherokee. There were many different Native American tribes there. So Mexico was participating in Manifest Destiny at the behest of the Spanish crown.
Yes, at the behest of the Spanish
so
crown.
at some point, you have to believe in self-determination.
Okay.
If you can win the land, it's yours.
Okay.
That is what built the West.
I can agree
and
with
so
you on that.
Instead of
thank you
saying
for,
land acknowledgement, we're on stolen land, you know what you should have? You should have a gratitude acknowledgement. Praise God, I live in America. I'm glad. A gratitude acknowledgement would be nice. But what is your question?
Okay. So my question is, how can we protect American-born Mexican
well, hold on.
people?
First of all, time out. You said Kilmar Garcia.
Yes.
He's not American-born.
I'm sorry. It's gonna connect to it. It's gonna connect to it. I promise you. Okay. So now that the body cam footage has been released and everything, they were purely basing the idea that he was part of MS-13 on the idea that they had that he was. No, he's not. So they're purely basing that on the fact that he had tattoos and the fact that he had 8 men in his car that were going to a construction site. Do you think personally that toothbrushes and toothpaste is purely the only thing that we can go on when to gratify like the idea that somebody is a human trafficker?
Hold on a second. I got a lot of questions here. So let me just say as a side note, the left's fixation on a wife-beating, child-abusing MS-13 foreigner, as if that's the big fight that they want to have, is so morally disgusting with so much suffering having. But no, that's number one. That's a side note. But I want you to explain this to me. What are these tattoos exactly? Is that not an MS-13 gang tattoo?
I've never seen anybody affiliated with MS-13, but I think that it could be a multitude of things.
So what is that? That's marijuana M, smiley face S, cross 1, skull 3.
Okay.
That's MS-13. Number 2, what was Kilmar Garcia? No, let's go through the facts because you brought up the facts. Number 2, what jersey did Kilmar Garcia wear on a routine basis, and what was the significance of it in the Maryland jurisdiction of gang territory?
He wore a Michael Jordan Bulls jersey.
Yes, and what is the significance? What gang wears Michael Jordan Chicago Bulls jerseys in the Maryland proper area?
Okay, now to flip that on
MS-13, got it. So in the charging document, and you talk uninterrupted. Time out. Time out. Yes, you happen to live in LA, living a Dodger. Time out.
Multiple people. White fence, and the Crips of this area wear Dodgers jerseys. So do you think that I would be affiliated with white fence in
hold on a second. It's called a
no. You can't.
It's accumulation of facts. Let me finish.
You can't bring
allow me to. I absolutely can. Allow me to finish. Allow me to finish.
Look at these people. Look at these people that are wearing MAGA hats right now.
Allow me to finish.
Could I say that they're part of a big gang?
Allow me to finish.
Could I say that they're part of a big gang?
Allow me to finish. Can I finish?
Yeah, of course.
You have the hand tattoos. You have the fact that he told the judge in 2019, I'm afraid to go back to El Salvador because another gang will come after me. Allow me to finish without interrupting.
A civil war.
So here's the thing. I'm actually from Maryland, if you guys don't know. In Maryland is not a place where we like the Chicago Bulls. And this is nothing against the Bulls. This is nothing against them. This is nothing against Michael Jordan, because I know it's a lot of Michael Jordan fans out there. But Maryland, we don't really like the Bulls. Not saying we hate them, but that's not really a team we root for in Maryland, especially not even really Michael Jordan like that. Nonetheless, jerseys are used in the state to signify gang relevance and signify gang membership. I just think that's how it works. That's always how it worked. I'm not saying Kilmar specifically was in a gang, because for this case, I don't know all the details about it. I didn't read up on it, on if he was in a gang or not. But jerseys are used to signify gang involvement. That's just how it is. Another thing is the student is not really making too much sense. He's kind of saying, "Oh, so you're just gonna deport someone who's wearing a jersey and who's doing this." He's kind of he's oversimplifying what actually happened here. What led to Kilmar Garcia getting deported, from my understanding, was a series of events. It was probably the fact that he was wearing a jersey and he had the tattoos and he was at this place and a whole list of things. Those list of things probably led to people saying, we have reasonable suspicion that he's probably in a gang, because in Maryland there is a lot of people who are in MS-13. This is not a random thing. Maryland is not a place that's like, oh, no one from here is from it. No, there are actually people in gangs in Maryland, very, very strong gangs, Latino gangs in Maryland. That's just the truth. So they're trying to act like what the Trump administration did in this instance was just completely insane and it was not reasonable at all. That's just not true. I understand, though, if you disagree with what they did and you doubt that they followed some type of laws. If that's what you're going off of, yeah, you can prove that. Like, you can use your knowledge or whatever to, I guess, prove that and then fight on the basis of that. However, if you're going off of the fact that what they did was just completely unreasonable, it's just not true. But let's continue.
Allow me to finish without interrupting. Number 3, he wore the Chicago Bulls, which is a gang affiliation in the Maryland area. Now, if you're in LA wearing a Dodgers jersey, that's one piece of evidence. If you're wearing Bulls gear day after day in the Maryland area, and you have MS-13 affiliated things, and you're telling a judge that you're part of a gang, and your wife has filed declaratory distress relief because you're a wife beater, and then finally the fact he's not an American, he broke into this...
I just said that. I'm from Maryland. Nobody wear... Come on, let's be honest. If you're an American, your area has a sports team. If you're not from America, let me explain it. America is like every single state kind of has its own culture. It's almost like that. Or every single region kind of has its own culture. So if you come to a place like New York, you're going to see a lot of the Yankees and the Knicks and the Giants and the Jets or whatever. You're going to see a lot of like references there. If you go to Philadelphia, you're going to see the 76ers and the Eagles. They go crazy for the Eagles. So we don't really like to mix our sports teams. Sometimes we will be fans of different sports teams in different areas, but it's not really too common to be a random fan of a random sports team in a different region in America. It's not too common. So when you see someone wearing a Bulls jersey day after day, not saying he wore it, I don't know him, but if he did allegedly wear a Bulls jersey day after day after day in Maryland, that is weird. That is not normal. That is not a normal thing to do. And I'm just speaking from a sports fan's perspective because I love basketball. But let's continue.
This country, and he does not afford the same rights that Americans are.
I'm sorry, but to sort of put that on you, right? He had a green card. He was
no,
married.
he did not. That is not correct. Wrong. That's not
was
true.
Was he married? Was he married?
No.
Was he married to an American citizen?
Does not matter. Time out. The judge. See that you got your facts so wrong. The judge said, "Sir, Mr. Garcia, you will be deported at any time for any reason back to any country. The only country I'm not allowing you to go be deported to was El Salvador."
And why was he deported to El Salvador?
That's the only mistake.
Why was he deported to El Salvador?
Because he was caught up. Time out. It's not that he was deported that it was wrong. It's not that he wasn't part of MS-13.
Well, the fact that he was deported was wrong because he didn't have any due process. Actually,
hold on, no. He had the most due process of any illegal in the history of the country.
That's actually incorrect. He's going through it right now while he's in El Salvador. He's going through it right now while he's in El Salvador.
In 2020, he had due process. The judge literally signed an order saying, at any time ICE can come and get you. This is your final warning, Mr. Garcia.
Charlie Kirk is making a lot of sense here. He's making a lot of sense here. And if you have a problem with what he's saying, then, I get it. But you also have to take into account that the Trump administration... I'm not going to say they're being fair, but they're being logical here. This is a logical thing that they're doing. And the student is trying to frame it as if, it's just completely racist and it's completely unfair. It's a completely biased thing they're doing. And that's just not a fair argument to make. I believe, and this is just my thing, if you're going to fight against an administration or anything, and I've always had the same stance, if you're going to fight against an administration, fight it on the premise of law. If the student were to come up here and say, they are lawfully wrong because of this, and this, that's a much more sound argument. But when he started the argument, he started it by saying, this land is stolen. America is stolen land. What isn't stolen land? The land was owned by somebody at some point or commandeered by somebody at some point throughout history. We've been on this earth following the death of Christ for over 2,000 years. You think Mexicans were the first ones to live in Texas for 2,000 years straight? It's just not real. It's always a first. It's always a second. But so you're starting the argument like that. It already tells me you're a little brainwashed, just a little bit. But let's continue.
His wife, right?
Okay, you do know the fact that Donald Trump has raped multiple women and his wife. Okay, yeah. He's a rapist. He raped his wife and multiple women.
Oh, he raped his wife, really?
And he's on record.
Which wife did he rape exactly?
Ivana.
Oh, he raped Ivana.
I do believe so, yes.
Oh, and what's your evidence for such a claim? Because I have evidence of court documents that Kilmar Garcia beat his wife. Want me to read it? In 2021, Abrego Garcia's wife, Jennifer Vasquez Sura, filed a protective order against him, alleging instances of physical abuse, including being punched repeatedly and scratched. She then filed a second order trying to protect the children from him abusing them on a nearly weekly basis.
Okay.
In 2019, Abrego Garcia was arrested in Maryland alongside other individuals. Authorities claimed repeatedly that were experts saying that the traits of his behavior, his iconography, and his tattoos were MS-13, such as specific clothing and tattoos, citing information from a confidential informant alleging from his gang membership. The judge agreed and signed his deportation order. What is the issue here exactly?
Has he specifically stated that his tattoos were... That's ironic when... Okay. Has he specifically stated that his tattoos were an affiliation of MS-13, or is that being a narrative being controlled by the Trump administration? Because Trump, let me bring this up. Trump did believe that he physically had MS-13 in the interview that literally just aired a few days ago, where he said that he didn't believe that it was photoshopped MS-13 because weed, smiley face, and skull. How are the skull and crossbones and the cross going to be thought of as 1-3?
Well, that's an interesting question. If it was,
That actually is a good question. I like that question. Because there is no active proof that those tattoos are MS-13. I don't know. I'm not a freaking tattoo expert. I don't know what those tattoos mean. And I'm sure most of us don't know what those tattoos mean. They could be MS-13. They could not be MS-13. We will all just be going off of the biases that we personally have. And also, he is 100% right. Donald Trump did believe that those were permanently stitched onto his fingers. I don't think they are. I think they're obvious Photoshop, the M, the S, and the 13. I think those are obviously Photoshopped. So that's actually a very fair question to ask. Let's continue.
Wasn't
Stay
MS-13,
stay high, smile
if it
till I
wasn't
die.
MS-13,
Stay high, smile till I die.
If it wasn't MS-13, why did his girlfriend blur out the tattoos on his hand in the recent images they posted together? If there's nothing to hide, why wouldn't she show it for the world?
I mean, yeah, you're actually, that was a good point.
Thank you.
That's a great point. I'm not gonna lie. Charlie Kirk is cooking here. He's cooking in this video. Why did she blur out random tattoos? I've never taken a picture with anyone who had tattoos and they blurred them out. It's never happened. Why did she do it? Hey, I'm not gonna lie.
Now, let me just bring that up into I want to.
There's nothing to hide. She'd say, hey, here's the tattoos.
Yeah.
That she's blurring them out in all the images.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
kind of weird, isn't it? Nothing to hide. Let it ride.
Yeah. Now, I kind of want to just transition then into the entirety of immigration.
Last point, then we got to get to more work.
Yeah. Okay. So obviously, Trump has floated around the idea of quote unquote deporting homegrowns for the quote most horrible and violent offenders or whatever. So how can we as Americans stop Americans from being persecuted by those, especially ones that aren't of white color? Especially ones that are not of white color, because ICE has repeatedly been on ICE has repeatedly persecuted Mexican Americans and or just Latino Americans for having tattoos and dark skin. How can we prevent people from being that's actually not a lie. That's actually not a lie.
What is your evidence for this?
Multiple articles and multiple
articles
and multiple newsletters that have, multiple news broadcasts that have let us know that ICE is racially profiling
do you
people.
think
My father is obviously not white skinned and has multiple tattoos. How can I make sure that he is not taken?
Is he a legal citizen?
I'm talking about when we get into.
Is he a legal citizen?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, of course.
Okay, then he's got nothing to worry about.
But I just brought up the fact of the idealization of homegrown, kicking out.
He's got nothing to worry about then. This is all targeted at illegals that have broken into our country. These are people that have broke into the United States
of
America.
And what makes them inherently bad? Because there's multiple people that overstays their visas,
Because they've cut in line. So you wait in line this entire time to ask a question, nice and patiently. Is it right for someone just to cut in line after you've waited? Other legal immigrants that have waited to come into the United States.
That doesn't really work because we were moved in a specific order. The same thing happens here, where we're moved into a specific order. Other people are prioritized.
Are you allowed to cut in line to come into a country?
I mean, from personal familial experience, my family are all American citizens now that came in illegally. Like I will admit that. Like they came in illegally, and my family did the right process. They overstayed their visa. They came on a trip, but they did the right process. Why is it that like we are simply only persecuting those that are like coming in illegally and want to just live a normal life?
And I don't mean any harm or disrespect to the student, and I never do when I do these videos. I don't wish any harm or any disrespect on anyone I talk to. But the reason Americans disagree with this, and it's very simple, is because your family came over illegally. And I think he's trying to overcomplicate it on why people are against it. It's very, very, very simple. Because they came illegally. It's nothing. He's trying to look at this like, oh, it's a racial issue. Oh, people are being racist. Or they're being prejudiced against us. No, it's not any of that. America is the most diverse country in the world. And I promise, white people, black people, Asian people, Hispanic, they don't care what race you are. They really don't care. Some places do, but 99% of places don't. They do not care. It's just about the fact that you did something illegally. And to them, it's unfair. They're like, that's not right. We don't want you to come into America illegally. It's not okay. It's not racism. It's not prejudice or the way you think it is. It's just none of that. It's literally just you came to a country illegally.
It does not matter your intention. Hold on.
Everybody's bringing up murders. Everybody's bringing up rapists.
There's a lot wrong here.
But what's wrong with that is when rape is committed by men, 51% of all rape is committed by white men. White men.
Okay, yes, and guess what?
So why are we pinpointing?
Hold on.
Why are we pinpointing a Mexican from the crowd
you're all
and saying,
over the place
oh,
here.
he's a rapist?
Again, what should the penalty be if someone breaks into America?
I'm sorry.
What should the penalty be when someone breaks into the United States of America?
Personally, I think we should help them get processed into the country.
Help them home. That's the only thing. We should send them back to Nicaragua, Guatemala,
the country should
Mexico.
Become home. The country should become home.
Oh,
especially,
so wait, hold on. I want to understand.
Well,
Do you invite random people into your home and be like, hey, you could just squat on my floor and eat my food?
Hey guys, so that's how you make friends, actually. So when you go to a random person and say, hey, come over to my house, what happens?
So you will just go to a random homeless guy shooting up under a bridge and be like, you're allowed into my home. You're my friend, Jerry.
Why are we comparing a homeless man to somebody in need of
because they both need government services, or they come into your own property or your own domain without invitation.
And I think it is ironic of you to bring up especially Guatemala right now with the thing that just happened in Tucson, Arizona, right? A Guatemalan woman was detained after giving birth. That child is now an American citizen. Why should the mother be sent back and not to help be here to help her child grow?
Yes,
because she's manipulating. That's manipulating the system. That is literal system manipulation. And the fact that he's not phrasing it like that is insane. Why should a mother be sent back and not allowed to stay here and help her child grow? Because that shows signs of manipulating the U.S. citizen system. That's a reason why they would send her back. And he's trying to pretend like that doesn't happen. It happens all the time. It happens all the time. That actually goes into why Trump wanted to change the way people were granted citizenship in America in his executive order. That's why he tried to do it. Not saying I agree or disagree with it, but trying to pretend like one side is all 100% right and the other side is just a crazy racist sack of trash. It's just... it's just not true. I get it. Your heart is in it. Your heart is in the politics. Your family, as you said, your family, some of them came over illegally. Your heart is in it. I get it. That doesn't make it right. Nonetheless, I'm going to end the video here. Let me know what you all think. My name is LFR Jojo, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace.